Hey everyone. So there's been a lot of talk about a drug known as chloroquine. It is an anti-malaria and also lupus medication that Donald Trump has been promoting during various press conferences related to COVID-19. And while it would have made me incredibly happy to see positive test results using this as a treatment for for coronavirus. The truth is that some of our worst fears have now been confirmed in a study out of Brazil regarding chloroquine for people who have already tested positive for the coronavirus. So this was a small study, and I want to be clear about that. I think it's important for people to know about the limitations of the study itself, but the results or the reactions that people had to chloroquine was so devastating and disastrous that they decided to halt the study altogether. Now, they were basically taking these patients. There were 81 hospitalized coronavirus patients in Brazil, and what they did is they gave half of them a higher dose of chloroquine, and the other half received a much smaller dose of chloroquine. To be specific, according to the New York Times, roughly half of the study patients were given a dose of 450 milligrams of chloroquine twice daily for 5 days, while the rest were prescribed, a higher dose of 600 milligrams for 100 days. Now, to be clear, there was recommendations from doctors in China. You can probably hear my dishwasher in the back. That's a lot of fun. All right, quarantine time. But anyway, doctors in China were trying to, just give some advice to these researchers, and they recommended a dose of 500 milligrams to treat coronavirus patients. And so these researchers in Brazil thought, let's have two different groups. One group gets 450 milligrams, the other group gets a slightly higher dosage of 600 milligrams. And this went on for 10 days. Well, when it came to the patients who were receiving the higher dose of chloroquine, unfortunately, many of them died because of heart complications, which is exactly what medical professionals have been warning us about ever since Trump started publicly promoting hydroxychloroquine during his press conferences. So here are the results. Within 3 days, researchers started noticing heart arrhythmias in patients taking the higher dose. So these are the people taking 600 milligrams. By the 6th day of treatment, 11 of the patients had died, leading to an immediate end of the high dose segment of the trial. So they're very clear in stating here that they stopped the high dose portion of the trial, and it seems as though they're going to continue on with the patients who are receiving the lower dose of 450 milligrams. But the reason why I bring this up to you is because prior to even this study being done, and by the way, doctors in Sweden have stopped using hydroxychloroquine as a treatment for coronavirus because of the complications. But before these two studies happened, we had very little evidence indicating that chloroquine was an effective treatment for coronavirus patients. There was very limited data, and what Trump did was so irresponsible, not only because he is encouraging people to take a drug that hasn't been proven to treat something like coronavirus, but because there are people who literally depend on chloroquine to survive now, and those are people who have lupus, for instance. It was or is an anti-malaria drug, and it should remain an anti-malaria drug that's available for people who are suffering from malaria as well as lupus. And so there is a reason why we do these studies. It's because we want to make sure that there is enough evidence backing the safety and the effectiveness of the drugs that are being looked at. And unfortunately, we have a president who doesn't really care too much about that. I get the need to give people a sense of hope, help people understand, that we're working on some sort of treatment and that there will be some light at the end of the tunnel. But I think it's incredibly irresponsible to give people unproven methods of treating themselves or preventing a virus, especially when you yourself are not a medical expert. And that's exactly what Trump did. And so just something to keep in mind as these studies continue. We knew that there would probably be some pretty serious side effects, especially related to heart conditions. But if you are looking for a treatment or a cure and it's likely that you could die from the cure itself, well, maybe that's an issue, and maybe the president shouldn't be promoting it the way he has been. All right, thanks guys, I'll give you more soon.